Hello everyone and welcome to the May 2019 edition of our monthly movie reviews. This is the series where we take all the new movies we saw over the course of a month and we review them in order from worst to best. I've been sneezing a lot recently, so if I sound more nasally than usual, that's it, but probably not, even though in YouTube videos people complain about this and you can't even tell the difference, but everyone's just being insecure. That's me. Now it's time for the movies.
I love movies. Gosh, I love movies. I love watching them, and I love making them.
Godzilla, King of the Monsters is the latest film from Michael Dougherty, the director of 2015's Krampus, which was pretty forgettable in my opinion. I mean, I've forgotten about it. You've probably forgot about it. Some of you probably don't even know it existed. But Godzilla is not forgettable, and I've thought about it a lot. And that's not a good thing because this is one of the worst films of the year. But for now, that's all I'm gonna say.
Godzilla, King of the Monsters was my most anticipated film of the year, and I thought it was...
Wake up! Wake up, wake up, wake up! Up you wake, up you wake, up you wake, up you wake!
Gosh, I love movies.
The Intruder is one of the dumbest movies I have ever seen in my life. The acting is bad, the score is bad, the story is bad, and it is not suspenseful in the slightest. Skip it, 2 out of 10. Not worth any time ever.
Gosh, I love movies.
Uglydolls is fucking dumb. This movie tells its messages in the most laziest way possible. It's like they were not even trying with the script. They watched the original Toy Story once and thought, oh wow, we could replicate everything and make it about these dolls. They even took elements from Shrek. It was wild. 2 out of 10. Do not recommend.
Gosh, I love movies.
Aladdin is annoying, but I couldn't help but enjoy myself some of the time. It's the same as the cartoon, except not as vibrant and not as fun. It's kind of a waste of time, but look at all of this box office money. Whatever. 5 out of 10.
Gosh, I love movies.
Wine Country is the first movie directed by Amy Poehler, and it was pretty mediocre. Maya Rudolph doing her thing is endlessly entertaining, but the problem with that is no one else is funny in this movie. Amy Poehler is doing her I'm super controlling of every situation and I need to learn to let go thing she's been doing for the last 10 years. There's just not a whole lot going on in this movie, and you're probably gonna forget about this movie by the time this video ends, and I'm giving Wine Country a 5 out of 10.
Gosh, I love movies.
Ma is the most unorthodox movie I have ever seen, and you need to go see it. I'm deadass not saying anything. Just know I have it at a 5 out of 10, maybe a 4. Probably a 5 though. Yeah, probably a 5. I don't know yet. This movie's wild. This movie is so wild. It's really dumb, but like it's really wild too. Go watch it.
Gosh, I love movies.
So, I saw Rocketman, and just as I expected, it was kind of boring and has the same emotional beats as every biopic fucking ever. This movie and other movies like it are so derivative at this point, it's like, what's the point of making the same movie over and over again? The surrealist musical moments weren't mind-blowing enough to separate itself from its contemporaries. It's just messy and I didn't care for it very much. But at least this movie isn't ashamed of its protagonist being gay, unlike Bohemian Rhapsody was. And I'm giving Rocketman a 5 out of 10.
Gosh, I love movies.
Extremely wickedly long title was fine. This movie wanted to be a David Fincher movie really badly, but like, it didn't succeed in that at all. If you want to watch a movie about a famous serial killer, watch Zodiac, because that's better. I mean, it was just really underwhelming. Like, I didn't really care for it. Everyone's serviceable, everything is serviceable. It's just fine. And I'm giving Extremely Wicked and blah 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 a 5 out of 10.
Gosh, I love movies.
Always Be My Maybe was kind of a good time. I laughed, I was entertained, there was a really fun cameo in it, the leads have chemistry, it's quirky. But the problem is, I can totally see myself forgetting this movie even exists in a couple of days. And I'm giving Always Be My Maybe 6? Maybe a 5 out of 10? I don't know, you're watching this video, so you know what I decided on.
Gosh, I love movies.
Longshot was actually quite funny. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. There really isn't a lot to say about it except if you want to laugh, check it out. If you don't care, you should be fine. I'm giving it a 6 out of 10.
Haha. I completely forgot I saw Longshot, so I didn't write anything about it. I thought Charlize Theron was good in it. She has good chemistry with Seth Rogen. But the rest of the movie was not really special. It wanted to not be political until it wanted to be political, and that was frustrating. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. I'm probably going to forget about Longshot again. And I'm giving Longshot a 6 out of 10. Maybe a 5.
Gosh, I love movies.
Detective Pikachu was whatever. I think Justice Smith was severely miscast as the lead. Not that I don't think he can be the lead in a film, but he's just not able to nail the emotional beats this film needs him to hit. It also doesn't help that his character is so annoyingly presented, so it makes it hard to care about him in the first place. Every other scene is a wow, I miss my dad, I'm sad scene, and the whole movie stops so we can have these scenes, and it's so unnecessary. Reynolds as Pikachu was actually really entertaining. I like him as Pikachu more than I like him as Deadpool, to be honest. Not nearly as annoying, very earnest. He actually made me laugh a couple of times. But the rest of the movie is predictable, and not in a good way. There's a certain point in the movie where I was like, okay, they're doing this metaphor with the characters. I wonder if they take the metaphor and made it literal. And then in the third act, they made it literal. I was not a fan. Basically, every time this movie tries to be serious, it doesn't work whatsoever. And I'm giving Detective Pikachu a 5 out of 10.
Detective Pikachu was great. The story is kind of dumb, however, and the acting is not the greatest. But it did remind me of the story and the oh my god, why can't I speak? I must be on crack cocaine. But it did remind me of the story and reactions in the original Pokemon cartoon. It's a real treat to all of us Pokemon masters. A 7 out of 10.
Gosh, I love movies.
Knock Down the House is a Netflix documentary following 3 women running for office in 2018, one of them being Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Nothing but respect for my congresswoman. Knock Down the House provides a look into what it's like to run for office and the emotional toll it has on people. The only complaint I really have is that they focus on AOC a little too much. I mean, I love her, she's great, but the film doesn't feel nearly as balanced because the 3 people running don't have an equal amount of screen time. But you should see it. Overall, it's a good time, and I'm giving Knock Down the House a 6 out of 10.
Gosh, I love movies.
At the Heart of Gold is an HBO documentary about Larry Nassar, the gymnastics doctor convicted of raping hundreds of women over his decades-long career. It's a pretty tough watch, but it's really powerful. The only thing is that the presentation feels like every other HBO documentary I've seen. It doesn't feel special or unique or like they're trying anything new, but the subject matter is important, and the amount of information that is told to you with the amount of footage they have and all of that makes it an essential viewing, and I'm giving At the Heart of Gold a 6 out of 10.
Gosh, I love movies.
Ask Dr. Ruth is a really cute Hulu documentary about Dr. Ruth. This film has an interesting subject, and understanding who she is and what she's gone through is really interesting, but every once in a while they use animation to illustrate events from her past, and the animation is god-awful. It's so bad, it's fucking horrendous. Uncanny Valley, creepy eyes, art direction, just everything. It's gonna throw you off for sure. But it doesn't take up too much of the movie, and the rest of it is really cute and powerful and entertaining, so I would definitely recommend it, and I'm giving Ask Dr. Ruth a 7 out of 10.
Gosh, I love movies.
Booksmart is the directorial debut from Olivia Wilde. It's basically superbad. I mean, it's literally superbad. Even to the point where the Jonah Hill controlling character is played by his sister. Anyway, unlike Rocketman, this movie, which also has an unoriginal plot, actually has things to appreciate. The chemistry between the two leads is incredibly palpable, and you have so much time to watch them be together. It's so entertaining. The jokes and the reoccurring bits are mostly memorable and funny. The surrealist moments actually service the story instead of just being,
hey, let's switch up the visuals because the rest of our movie is so fucking boring.
But Booksmart is not perfect. The soundtrack was mostly great, loved the song choices, but there's certain moments where instead of using the soundtrack as a transitioning tool or a comedic one, she uses it during key dramatic moments, and it does not work at all. It would have been great if on a specific moment in the film we only heard diegetic sounds so we can feel the gravity of the situation. It would have been earned because of how much music was used throughout the movie, and to have it cut out would have meant so much more for the story and the characters, but it wasn't, and it felt like she used it as a crutch. But that's like 1 minute of a 90-minute movie, and the rest of it was great, and I can't wait to see what Wilde does next, and I can't wait to see how she grows as a director, and I'm giving Booksmart a 7 out of 10.
Booksmart is so good. Oh my god. This movie is hilarious and cleverly written, and I recommend it to literally everyone I come in contact with. The story is good and kind of has Superbad vibes, but feels a little more updated and a little more all over the place, but in a good way. The camera work here is just not the best, but either way it is fun to watch. Peep it with a date or pals late at night. Sober though, so you can enjoy it. A strong 8 out of 10 for me.
Gosh, I love movies.
The Souvenir is the latest from acclaimed director Joanna Hogg. It stars Tom Burke and Honor Swinton Byrne as the leads. And you might be thinking, there's a part of the name Honor Swinton Byrne that sounds familiar. And you would be right, because it's Tilda Swinton's daughter, and Tilda Swinton is also in this movie. Although this movie has many other good aspects about it, this is a film that seems very focused on the performances by the actors. The performances feel very raw and unpolished in a good way. This is Honor Swinton Byrne's first major film role, so that's to be expected, but there are moments where it loses its charm, like in this scene right here. Tilda Swinton isn't in the movie a ton, but when she's in it, she steals every scene she's in. The cinematography has its moments too. It uses mirrors and borders really well, especially mirrors. Oh my god, the mirror shots are fucking wild. But in a bunch of scenes, the lighting very much leaves a lot to be desired, especially a certain dinner scene where everything is underlit, and I'm someone who likes high contrast lighting, and this was a little just ugly looking. The movie is also pretty well written. The way Hogg conceals things like gaslighting and denial are pretty subtle, and by the time the big problems are on the surface, you might be backtracking in your mind as to how the characters got to this place, and it's pretty great. And speaking of subtlety, this movie, like High Life, likes to hold its cards pretty tightly. It's not a very accessible viewing experience at all. The pace is measured, and it really doesn't care to excite you very much. But by the end of the movie, I felt rewarded, and the ending was satisfying, and the way it was presented was excellent, and it was pretty layered and impressive. If any of those descriptions are enticing at all, I would definitely recommend The Souvenir, and I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Also, there's a second movie in the works, so that's cool too. Watch The Souvenir. Do it.
I love movies. Gosh, I love movies. I love watching them, and I love making them.
John Wick 3 is the third and probably best John Wick film in the John Wick franchise, John Wick. The action is back and more goddamn enjoyable thanks to a recognizably increased budget from the previous films. The story is still top notch, besides like the last 5 minutes, and it is just so badass. Haven't seen action this real and brutal in a long time, worth every penny, a solid 8 out of 10.
John Wick Chapter 3 was my favorite movie of the month, and it was fucking awesome. It was so cool, the colors were cool, the fighting was cool. I love that the movie knows Keanu Reeves is an old man, so there are multiple breaks during fight scenes. The fight scenes were brutal, almost to a comedic level. You're basically laughing out of sheer uncomfortability. Halle Berry is so good in this action movie. For a second, you forget she was in Catwoman, and that's cool. The main villain bad guy was funny and cool. The two guys from The Raid were cool. The callbacks to The Matrix were cool. This movie is so cool. Like the two previous films, there are attempts to expand the world even more, and there were moments where it was a little goofy and it seemed like they're running out of ways to expand the lore other than saying, hey, these assassins are everywhere all the time, but it's still so cool. The only complaints I have about this movie are the same complaints I have about all the John Wick movies, and that's how they fuck up the geography of New York City, and basically every dialogue scene is poorly written and acted, except for the ones with Lawrence Fishburne because he can sell any amount of bad dialogue. He's awesome and he's cool. But it seems like in this movie, there's less dialogue scenes than the other two, and there's way more action. Honestly, the less talking, the better for these movies. Ugh, John Wick was so cool. I cannot wait for the trilogy to be on Blu-ray. I cannot wait for John Wick Chapter 4 in 2021. It's really cool that America finally has a good original action series to care about again, and I'm giving John Wick Chapter 3 an 8 out of 10. It was so cool.
Hey guys, be sure to freaking smash that like and subscribe button. Love you.